Yo, good morning, happy Sunday. How are you? Welcome in. Got a good one today. The reason why I think it's good is because it's actually something that I'm genuinely curious about. I'll be introducing this story quite a bit today and talking about this as people kind of trickle in, but it kind of starts like this, right? So yesterday, Erica and I are going to Target, and we're just doing a diaper run. We're buying diapers for the kids and stuff. And I'm in my head because like I'm thinking about what I want to do with this, and just the work that I'm doing. But I'm also thinking, I just remembered that I pay insurance for like every 6 months. So you get your bill, you pay the whole 6 months off and stuff. And I was just like, oh man, that's coming up. And I honestly don't even know how or if I'm going to be able to do that this time around. And just stressing about like finances and stuff. And, just it's been almost 6 months now since we've adjusted our pay scale, and it's starting to the family, we're starting to feel it. And and not like craziness. I have to caveat, I just want to let you guys know it's nothing crazy. Like, I'm not about to go live under a bridge or anything like that. No, it's not that at all. What I mean by that is just that we had, how would I say this, before we were able to literally just go to Whole Foods, go and have whatever monthly subscription services that we have. Where now we're at a time where the only one that we do right now, just for the kids, is two, one educational one, and then Disney, right? So that the kids can watch that. And even then, we're like, ooh, we might have to cut that one of those off. No more frugally buying, no more just racking up cards, like that. No more buying Bitcoin. That was the thing that I was doing too, because I had that extra income. We had that extra income that we could do that, and so it's really like, oh, it's rough seas. It's rough seas. It's, and I will say, I know I might look a little nervous talking about this. It's because it's my finances, and obviously this is kind of something hard to talk about. It's not a walk in the park, but I want to. I feel like I'm not the only one that's going through this, and this is kind of something that I feel like I want you guys to be part of a community, but as a somebody has to start this thing off, right? Where it's just like the circle of trust. And I'll be the guy to do it. I don't have a problem talking about this stuff. I do have an issue, but I'm trying to be brave here. And so, because sometimes it's hard to like say that, because you as human beings, what we do is we almost are tying our metric for success to our bank account. And I honestly think that that's kind of, I've learned that that's not very wise to do that. But not, we do it. I was guilty of doing it. I've done it before. But anyways, so all that to give you a background of that was yesterday. Today, I jokingly asked my wife while we were at, because we watch church online. I'll show you which church it is. Here you go. We watch church on the internet just so that we can. Well, first of all, these guys are in Oklahoma City. That's how we found them first. But they're also on the internet. You can like live stream their stuff. So you go right here, you click it, you live stream, and you can watch it. And that's what we kind of do. And so we're doing that today. And I was jokingly telling Eric, I was like, damn, did you tell him about what I was telling you yesterday? Because today the message was about tithing. Now, it's very interesting because this isn't like the first time I've thought about this. I have a friend, his name is Jake, an army buddy, and I've asked him about tithing before. And, I always found it interesting that we would have conversations about how Jesus came to get rid of the Old Testament and bring in the New Testament, and a lot of that stuff like tithing and stuff. Um, I've always thought that it was part of the Old Testament. So I was like, well, so I would always have that type of logic where I'm like, well, that's the Old Testament is what, if we're followers of Jesus, then we would not really be paying attention to the Old Testament. And just so you guys know, I'm not a pastor, so this is just my understanding of things. And I do find I do find it interesting because for those of you guys that don't know, I've said this so many times before. If you've ever been around, I believe that the universe, if you listen, is constantly talking to you. And when I use the word universe on purpose, based on whatever it is that you believe on. But if you listen, the universe is talking to you almost on a daily basis. You just have to listen. Um, so today I felt that, and it was in tithing. And to me, I always understood tithing to be just you give 10% of whatever you make to the church. And personally, I've seen like Netflix documentaries, I've seen the news, I've seen articles where you hear about like these like these so, and I was actually going to say mega church, but that's not true because I've also seen it where there's like little churches out in the boonies, out of an RV, or I mean out of a trailer, like a double wide trailer, and they are also doing the same thing where they're asking people for money and they're just putting it in their pocket. Let me see. I'm trying to think of what would that even be? Priest who took money from the church. Is that right? Yeah, see, look, several priests have been in the news for taking money from their churches, including Kevin, who stole $650,000 from a Las Vegas church. Sending church funds to his sister. I mean, you hear about this all the time. It's not like it's not, you know, it's not like unheard of. Well, anyhow, so I've always just said like, dude, why the heck would why am I going to give them my money, right? So what I've always thought was, you know, what I should do is I should figure out how to use that money to help others. And I told my friend that too, by the way. I was like, yeah, I'll just use that and I'll do it. You know what I mean? And, you know, we had that conversation and then the conversation got brought up again. He goes, yeah, you said that last time. And how's that been going? And I was like, yeah, I haven't been doing that. I have not been doing that. And that's when he was just like, that's why you want to give to the church and find out, but do your research about who you're giving to because they are going to be doing it. And so, but today, I don't know why, but I felt compelled to come in on here and do this research with you guys, just in case, even if there's just one person out there who finds this and maybe is looking for research, whether you're here live now or you're watching a replay, we can do the research together because just like you, I also feel like I don't know. A little piece of me just wants to just go ahead and not even do all this research and just be like, you know what? F it. I'm going to tithe. But I just can't. I just can't do that. I got to make my own decision. I don't want to do that. I mean, I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but one of the things that my grandma always told me was you don't need to go to church. As long as you have a Bible, you're good to go. Do your own research or do your own reading. Because she said that, you know, sometimes those guys that are up there reading it for you or using the word essentially to benefit themselves. And so I did. I believed that. And, I mean, but to be honest with you, same thing with my tithing. I would only read the Bible whenever I needed it, whenever I felt like I was lost. I wasn't just like, it wasn't like the gym where I was just going because, you know, I don't want to have to, I want to maintain, not have to, you know, to fix. And so, yeah, I found that very interesting today that message got brought up. And so I'm going to open Chat GPT and I just want to start doing some research. I want to research with you. I want to ask questions. And then based on the research, just give you an honest reaction of how I feel. And go from there. I know one of the things that and here's I'm not trying to tell you guys. I'm sharing with you guys. So everything that I'm telling you guys, everything that we're talking about today is just me and my experience sharing it with you and my experience and what I'm doing. So that way, maybe while you're watching this, you can get some ideas. I don't know why I have thick boogers, but these guys right here, one of the reasons why I do feel kind of compelled to give is because of, let's see. Yes, right here. These guys created, oh yeah, no, you can't see it. These guys created a app when the iPhone was first coming out and the iPhone was needing apps. They created a Bible app, and it's literally called Bible app. So if you've ever had or ever looked it up or need to look it up, this is the church that created that, and they didn't charge anybody. They made it for free, which I thought was pretty cool because one of the stories that they tell at this church is that you have people come up to them all the time saying, "Dude, if you would have charged just $1, how much money you'd have." And not even just to have money, but even to be able to use that money to update the app and make it. But they don't. But they're doing it. Literally, look at this website, guys. It literally looks like an Apple website. Like the design's good. Everything about this thing is really, really cool. The app's also really good. I use it myself, and so that's why I feel like, okay, if they're doing that, I feel like I would be giving them my money and it would be going towards maybe that. So one of the things that the pastor did talk about today, his name is Pastor Craig, was that, oh, hold up, I'm tied up. What the heck? It was that if you give the first 10%, apparently it says in the Bible, which we will look this stuff up, that God can do more with 90% plus his blessings than I can do with the whole 100%. And I think the part to me that really hit me whenever, and I'll be honest with you, I was watching the message, and I don't know, maybe we can watch it again today together. I'm watching what this man is talking about, and I'm just like, the whole time he's talking, I'm just like, dude, you just want my money. You just want my money. Like, because again, just me giving him 10% isn't a big deal. But if his whole organization gives him 10%, that's some big dough, right? And so that's kind of like, I guess that's like blinding me from being able to I guess receive the blessing of which we'll see. We'll do the research today, and we'll make our conclusion. But if it is, a thing that helps out, or I don't know. I don't even know how to talk about tithing because I just don't even know what it is. Because he did say it's not like I give you $10 and God gives me like $1,000. Like that's not what that is. I'm not buying His grace. That's not what it is. It's about faith, and this was the part where he got me, where it's my actions, which is so crazy because you want to know something? I'm very critical about people, in the sense that for the most part with people, I don't care what you tell me. I don't care when you say, "Oh, you're you like," to me, like complimenting me and just that type of words. I'm trying to figure out how to say this. I am weary of them. When you say something, I'm like, okay, so what is it really? I do like to do that where I'm trying to read between the lines. But action, I'm a firm believer that what your actions are truly say what your intentions are. So I say that because today that was something that was brought up is that that is a way that you can say that God, I'm showing you by the actions that I'm taking that I honestly do have faith in what you're doing, that I believe in you, that I know that you're here with me. Because me right now, as a person that's been going to church, I've been all talk. And it's so crazy because normally what I do, what I'm doing with God, is something that I would just be like, I would brush it off. I'm like, that guy's all talk, no action. And that's crazy. And this is why I'm doing this today because I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about that. I'm thinking about that right now. That's why it's kind of a little difficult for me to articulate it and stuff like that. And, so today during the church, the sermon, he talks about how that's kind of a way for you to share with God that you are indeed having faith, that you do believe, that you entrust your life to him. And I that was the part that got me today. That was the part that got me that said, you know what? Why don't I go ahead? I'll live stream it, so that one, I can look back on it and see like. So I kind of already have a predetermined thing that I think I'm gonna do today, which is I think now actually I don't know because I'm not gonna lie. So tithing is giving 10%, and not just any 10%. It's not the middle 10%. It's not the last. It's the first. So you get paid, and before you pay a bill, before you buy yourself a coffee, before you do anything with that money, you give your 10% first to God. You give that the best part, the top, you know what I mean? When you drink that soda, you drink that first 10%. That's the best part. You don't want the last 10% because that has spit in it. But you do. You give your first 10%, and I have. I mean, I get paid next week, and I'm just like, well, technically today's the first of the week, so I get paid this week, and I am debating if I should give it a shot, just to see how I feel. I think you know what I think it's already predetermined that I think I'm going to try it. It's not predetermined or hasn't been determined on whether or not I'm going to continue to do it. I think one of the things that I battle with and I struggle with is that I'm trying to give money and not expect something out of it. It's just that probably the hardest part for me. And I know that I shouldn't be having expectations that I should, but it's true. I, as a human being, especially here in the United States, have been conditioned to expect something when I give, especially monetization, money or something like that. I'm expected to receive something. I mean, to me, I even used to joke around too on the internet, on Spaces, and just be like, "Oh Lord Jesus, pray us, make everybody feel good," and pass the tip jar around. Yep, pass the bucket. Everyone go ahead and put $20 in. You don't give 10, get them out. I used to joke around like that. I used to do a little bit where I would joke of people asking for money and panhandling, and I'm about to be an enabler. But no, I do feel like if I gave money, I would be expecting, and that's just the hardest thing for me. I don't know. And that's one of the things that we want to do today, right? So maybe I should write this stuff down or not, but I want to know what it is. I want to know how I'm supposed to be feeling about it. I know it sounds crazy, because I'm pretty sure that tithing isn't supposed to be, me expecting something in return. The pastor today during the sermon talked about how, sometimes people will be like, I did that one bad thing this week. You know what? I'll go ahead and tithe then for forgiveness. And that's like a form of punishment or something like that. I also don't want to do that. So I want to figure that out, and we're gonna do good old faithful Chat GPT. And to be honest with you, if you've never used Chat GPT to like bounce ideas, like biblical ideas, it's actually pretty good. At least I think it is. I'm thinking maybe we should set a little mood here. Uh, with music, I don't know. I was gonna put like some Christian worship music in the background, but and can I say something else? While we're on the subject, I don't mind. And maybe this might be something like, since I'm putting all the cards on the table, I just got to say one thing. I told you I go to that one church. One thing I'm not a big fan of, and I don't know why I get bothered by, is hold on, give me a sec. Is that I don't know, when you hear people getting worshiping or whatever it is, and they're just like dropping on their, I don't know. To me, that seems a little excessive, but I just feel like I had to say that. Uh, so, yes, we're gonna use good old faithful Chat GPT, and let's see. First of all, let's start with what is tithing according to the Bible. Let's start there. What is tithing according to the Bible? So here's a clear biblical explanation of tithing without church tradition, just straight from Scripture. Because here's the thing that I did. I thought about doing, and maybe you guys have too. What is tithing? Like literally, is it actually giving 10% to the church? I thought it was supposed to be giving 10% to God. So what, like back then, what did they do back then when the church was just being started? Like, I mean, obviously they weren't giving it to the church. I would assume so. And so I would assume that they weren't doing that, but they had to have been doing something in order to honor God with that first 10%. So we look at where tithing started. It apparently, damn, it's an old ass tradition, the law of Moses. By the way, that's another thing too, that whenever I think about tithing, I think about when Jesus came down, and again, I've read a little bit of the New Testament. And he's trying to abolish some of the Old Testament, and I'm not gonna like try to get into like I'm not going to try to start a war here, a debate or anything, but there was a certain religion that Jesus was picking on particularly, and he was just, looking at some of their leadership and saying like, dude, you can't tell people to give you money. That money's not for you. Bro, you're literally using the church in your benefit. And he's trying to get rid of that. So again, it's one of those things where when I read that in the Bible, I'm just like, bro, how is that not different than what it is today? Like literally, they're still doing that. Again, not trying to be rude or anything like that, but like how churches don't have to pay taxes here in the United States. That's crazy. And then like there's like a lot of loopholes for them that they get away with and stuff. And so I just think about that, and to me that's sus, that's suspicious, and it makes me kind of feel like a wild animal out in the wilderness where my hairs will stick up because something just doesn't feel right. So that's the feeling I get from this. I know that sounds pretty bad, but I'm just keeping it real. That's just how I am. That's how I feel. I just feel like, you got to watch out for these people. Because again, and the reason why I wanted to tell you guys about that, like the person that's worshiping, dropping to their knees, crying, and doing all that. I just feel like, dude, you're just seeking attention. I feel like you want people to see that, like, oh, look at me. I'm giving it all to God. Look at me. And it's just like, bro, you just gotta chill out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, it goes back to, I don't. It almost feels. It just feels fake. It just feels like you're just. I don't know, and it could just be a me thing. But anyways, I'm trying to make a bridge the gap here on just kind of where I'm at. So this is my starting point. So in order for you to know that this right here is my starting point, boom, and now we're gonna figure out. Because the whole point of recording this is what happens if I change my perspective a little bit? What happens if I'm not hardened in my ways and I allow myself to be open to this? What does anything change for me? And does it change for the better or does it change for the worse? It's an exploration. I really want you guys to go over there. I don't see you them. Sorry about that. All right. So with that being said, that's kind of what I'm hoping to get out of this, and to just have a documentation of that. So all that was because I read this part right here, that this was before the law of Moses. And I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. Don't feel like you have to know a lot of this stuff. I'm looking at this. I don't know what the hell I'm looking at, really. I really don't. So Abraham, which I know, I think I know some of these people, gave a. I've heard these names before. Obviously, gave a tenth of everything he had to a god, a priest of God. This person gave tenth. Oh, I promised God a tenth of everything God blessed him with. Okay, but how do they? This shows tithing. Did it start as real? It started as a gratitude and worship. Okay. So tithing under law later on commanded Israel to tithe to support the priest. See, this is dude, this right here, right? Look at this. Later, God commanded Israel to tithe to support the priest who served in the temple and had no land/business income. This is, I honestly, this is when I see this. This is what I'm saying. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. God came down and said, oh yeah, dude, make sure we all give money to the priest. Let's make sure that we all do that. Then it's just like everyone's gonna be like, oh well, then that's the job I want right there, because you just get to kick back a little bit, and people are just gonna be literally giving you money because we're telling them that they have to do that. Dude, sometimes again, I just feel like this is, I just can't imagine that. You know what I'm saying? It's just, dude, I don't want to be cynical here, but it's just like, okay, so I can't talk to God, but this guy here that is appointed by who exactly? So he's the priest, but he can talk to God, and he's telling me that God's telling us to give him, the priest, money. You know what I mean? Does that not sound like? Doesn't that sound kind of sketch? Just think about that as like a transaction in the street world. That doesn't make sense. Tithe given to the priest. The tithe is the Lord. It is holy. Sometimes they're used for orphan, widows, and foreigners. Okay, see, that's cool right there. So then here we go. We got tithing in the New Testament. Jesus endorsed the idea of tithing, but emphasized that it shouldn't replace love, justice, and mercy. So he did endorse the idea of tithing, but it shouldn't emphasize that it shouldn't replace love, justice, or mercy. And to me, I don't really have an issue with that. I'm not like in the state where I'm like, okay, if I give money, I don't have to like do mercy. I could be a douche. No, that's not where I have a problem. But that makes sense because, like I said, you know, sometimes people are gonna feel like, oh well, I give money, so I can do whatever I want. I can be an a-hole. I can be a hater on the internet. I could steal, I could kill, I could do that. Because honestly, when I thought about that, I just thought about like mobster movies where that's kind of why they go to church and they give generously, because it's just like, well, I mean, I'm out here killing people, so I could give $1,000 probably to wash my sin off. So you should tithe, yes, but not neglect the more important things. But after Jesus' resurrection, the New Testament focus shifts for a required 10% to a lifestyle of generous gift. Whoa. But after Jesus' resurrection, the New Testament focus shifts from a required 10% to a lifestyle of generous giving. Okay, how come that wasn't brought up today at church? At church, they were talking about giving 10%, not a lifestyle of generous giving. Each of you should give what you just have decided in your heart to give. God loves a cheerful giver. So it's not. So I don't know why people are saying that a tithe is 10%. But after Jesus' resurrection, the New Testament focus shifts from a required 10% to a lifestyle of generous giving. So it's up to you to decide what is a generous giving. Each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give. God loves a cheerful giver. I'm trying to decipher that. Each of you should give what you have decided. Because here's the thing that I will say that I have a problem with this. Sorry about that. My camera blacked out. Uh, I think one of the issues that we do, because I'm doing it right now, is right now I'm like, oh well, then, dude, you know how many people would probably just give $1 and be like, yeah, I'm good with that. And it's just like, hey, if that's truly what they, if they're good with that, they're good with that. I think I need to have a sit down with myself. I need to, and I want to sit down with my wife when I do it too. And I want to talk with her and say, hey, what's something that we're comfortable giving? Because I actually don't give any money. We don't. My wife's asked about it before. We haven't been, and I kind of want to start doing it. Because, and the reason why I want to do it, why I'm feeling called to do it, is because I have a beautiful wife. I have 3 beautiful children. I have a lifestyle right now that, like I kind of told you guys earlier today, that, it's a bit of a struggle. It can be. It is. But I'm happy. Like, nonetheless, I'm genuinely happy with where I'm at. I like what I'm doing. I like this adventure, and sometimes, like the other night, my wife and I stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning just talking about what direction we want to go in, and I feel blessed. And so, because of that, I'm trying to find a way to tell God thank you, because I'm grateful. I am thankful, but I don't know how to express that to God. And I don't know, maybe this could be a way for me to do it. And, that's why I started going back to church, because I wanted to be around God's people, because this time, I'm not running away from anything. This time, I'm not asking for salvation. When I say this time, I'm talking about when I was in my 20s. I was running away from circumstances. I needed help. I was dying. I was drowning. I was just not doing good. That's not the case anymore. This time I'm coming back because, and that's why I want to record this, because last time I remember how it was, and sitting here today thinking back like, oh shit, yeah, that's right. Which I know I still cuss and stuff. Sorry, God. But I'm just thinking like, oh yeah, that's right. I was, and this is how I remember it. And I have no problem sharing this. I mean, who knows? That church that we're attending on live, that's the church that I actually ended up getting baptized at. And the day that I got baptized was because I had been partying way too hard on Saturday. Way too hard. And I felt so hungover, and so, you know what I'm talking about, when the next day when you just don't feel good. It was so bad. I literally went to church because I felt like I needed that energy. I needed to drain that energy because my energy was so low that I needed to use that one to help pick me up a little bit and help lift my spirits and pick me up. Well, that day they were doing baptisms. So it was they were baptizing people, and I just remember looking, because they had just the word baptism everywhere. There's people dressed in shirts that said baptism. And I had showed up late. Why? Because I just woke up. I woke up and I was like not feeling good. I'm just like, dude, I have got to get the hell out of here. And I did. I went to church. They were already started. I think they played 3 songs for worship, and they were on song number 3, and everybody already did their thing. There were just people sitting there in case anybody wanted to at the last minute seek redemption, and that was me. At the last minute, they take me to a changing room. They give me a shirt. They ask me if I have shorts. I said, no, I don't have shorts. And they said, don't worry. We have extras just in case. And I changed. I went in. Boom. And that was it. That's how I got baptized. And it wasn't like as soon as I came up from the water that like, boom, my life changed. The world is high saturation and everything looks good. It's all rainbows and butterflies. No, it wasn't like that at all. But looking back to that's how I started, and today I'm going back because I want to say thank you. Like, you know what I mean? It went from me, I need to now I'm just like, dude, I'm good. Thank you so much. Is there any way I can do something for you? And I feel like that's what I'm looking for out of tithing. But right now, I'm good in that area, but what I feel like, with the giving of the money, it's just like, ooh, hold on. It's almost like it's the same story, only different. And in Hollywood, there's a saying, tell me the same story, only different. So it is, because now that instead of having this excruciating hangover from consuming content, like alcohol or drugs or whatever, now I have this like that same hangover feeling, only I was not paying attention to my family because we're in the car, and instead of hanging out, I'm thinking about, oh dude, I got this insurance bill coming up. How am I going to pay that? Like, and I want to pay the whole 6 months off, but I mean, like I said, if it's not the way we're going to do it, then oh well, what am I going to do? And oh yeah, this is going to sound so like, because this is how it used to be. All right. It used to be like this, that we had it so good that we didn't have to even budget. We didn't have to budget. I could just do the numbers in my head and we would be okay. Now I'm in a time where I do have to budget, where I have to say, okay, this is how much is coming in because I already know how much is going out by having to pay credit cards that we are using, that we pay, the credit cards that we paid off so that we wouldn't be in debt. And now we use them because we were, with Erica, I didn't have work for like, I don't know, 3 months. But we were traveling, and when you move this thing, it costs a lot of money in fuel and rent and stuff like that, and you got to make payments on this thing. So anyways, so now, it's one of those things where the same feelings that I was getting from consuming alcohol, drugs, and just not feeling is almost like it's the same thing all over again, only different. And it's not necessarily that. Right, that's like the thing that's taking my like living that party life was taking the ability of me being able to enjoy it, or work towards having a family and being able to enjoy something like that. Now it's finances, and now for whatever reason, the universe is asking me to give when I have nothing to give. I need, if I'm being honest, I need, but that's okay. That's where. Like I said, when I started this out, that's why I'm doing this research, because it's where am I going to put my action at? And like I said, next week, as I'm talking to you guys, I feel like I'm hyping myself up to give next week when I get paid. I'm going to talk to my wife to see if she wants to do the 10%, but it says here that you can just give generously. And sometimes that means we're not, then you're going to have somebody that can't give a lot out of fear. But I don't know why the number 10% is the thing. Here's the thing. 10% is freaking me out. 10% is freaking me out. Why is it freaking me out? That's what I want to know. And should I just do that number just to see what happens? just to see what, like, not like what happens out there, but what happens in here, inside of me. You know what I mean? If I do that thing that I'm afraid of and I let go of fear and I hang on to faith, what will that do? You know? Because that's what's happening. I hate to admit it, but that is what's happening. I'd rather fight a bear right now. So what does it mean biblically today? Tithing is a voluntary act of worship, giving back to God with gratitude, faith, and generosity. It's not a payment or a bill. It's a spiritual practice. Biblical giving today emphasizes cheerfulness, sacrifice, trust, helping others, supporting ministry. Why do some Christians still tithe 10%? Because it's a biblical model, not a law. It helps it honor God first financially. It's a disciplined way to practice generosity. By the way, here's another thing. These guys have an app where you can tithe. You type in your bank account information, and it automatically pulls it for you. That freaks me out. That freaks me out. It's just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You want to do that for me automatically? Jesus. Excuse me. Then I'm not giving. That's not, I don't feel like that's giving. I really don't. The fact that you're automatically pulling it from me, that's another thing that kind of freaks me out. It feels like Pinocchio going to Pleasure Island, and you know how that turns out. That's what this feels like. But Pinocchio didn't see the signs. How often does that happen where you know something you see something and the person getting scammed like, oh, I didn't see the signs, and it's just like, well, that's why you got scammed. I'm not saying I'm gonna get scammed, but I'm just saying, you know. So concept: who gives worship plus community support? Oh, wait. Old Testament, New Testament. Worship plus community support. Now it's worship plus generous love. 10% or more. Whatever you decide in your heart. And that's another thing. That's so interesting that chat's telling me that, because the place that we're going to church is telling me 10%. They didn't say what my heart desires. Obedience, cheerful generosity, purpose for the priest plus the poor. Ministry, poor plus church growth. The church growth thing, I like it specifically for the Bible app. If you're studying this on live stream, I can help you craft the script, give discussion questions, or even help. I told chat that I was going to be doing this today. No, thank you. I am live right now, and we are already doing the... Oh, wait, I spelled that wrong. Doing the research. Got it. Have an awesome stream. If you need a verse reference or a quick clarification while you live, just drop in questions and I'll answer fast to the point. Have fun exploring. No, I just find that very fascinating. And I'm curious to see what I will do with this and how I will, I don't know, how I'll take this information and figure it out. Let's see, I will get paid. Let me check the calendar. I should get paid on Thursday or Wednesday. And I will say that I am going to do it, but I just don't know how much. I'm going to have to ask my wife and talk to her about that. And it is Sunday. I only wanted to come on here real quick and talk about that. I want to make sure that I spend time with my family, my wife, my kids. But I just felt the need to come on here and say that. I said that yesterday, that I want to start using this live streaming platform as a way for me to come in and do something like this. I didn't know it was going to be this. By the way, I just want to let you know, to me, one of the scariest things that I've ever done was come on live and talk about my religion, my faith, how I believe, and all that other stuff. So if it's something that you like, let me know in the comment section. If it's something that you didn't like, also let me know in the comment section. Why is it scary for me? Because I just feel like, dude, that's not something you should be telling people or talking to people about. Like that's a big turn off for to be doing that. People don't want to hear that crap. Because I'm not gonna lie, when I was partying in my 20s, doing the drugs, doing the alcohol, I swear, if this person like this would have came on and done that, that would have upsetted me. So I think that's where it comes from. That's where it stemmed from. It would have bothered me because I don't want to hear that. I'm busy sinning right now, and I don't want somebody to come in here and tell me what I'm doing is wrong, because I know it's wrong, but I want to do it, and I don't want to feel guilty for doing it. Which ultimately ended up making me feel guilty for doing it, and ended up getting baptized. But yeah, just let me know. It's hard for me to do this just because I'm judging myself. But I just, I, I honestly have been. It's gonna sound crazy, but I've been watching a lot of Western movies. I've just been really watching a lot of content of people living out in out in the West, like the good old days, and religion and God is something that was very important to them. And it's crazy to see how these people live such a hard life when they could have lived in a city like Chicago or New York, and maybe you know not have the issues that they had, but they were able to do it. And one of the biggest things that I see is God, and that's how they were able to be persistent and persevere and do all that stuff. And so, as I leave, for those of you guys that don't know, I'm from Los Angeles, born and raised. But as I leave that and come back to the West, and adapt that lifestyle, like even look at the way I'm dressed today, Wrangler. I want to be proud because those guys are proud of it. Like when you go to the, what is it called, where you go see the bullfighters, and then the mutton button, and the when you go to the oh man, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? When you go to the state fairs and stuff, or the local little county fairs or whatever, and there's like um the gathering, all of them, they pray every day. And I thought that was interesting. You got this one small little community of people, and they get together on prayer and God. And I like the way that makes me feel. I love that. So today I took a chance and said, you know what, Eric, tell that inside voice to be quiet. Do what you want to do. If that's what you want to talk about that. And who knows, maybe Sundays it might be, because Sundays, I'm telling you, I'll be, after going to church, I have thoughts like this. And I wouldn't mind coming in here and talking about those thoughts, and other thoughts that I have in the future, because that's what I want this place to be. I can share my thoughts, you can share your thoughts, and we can kind of just talk about that. But yeah, anyways, I'm rambling. I want to say thank you again so much for coming in. And I will catch you on the next one. I don't know when it'll be, but tomorrow. All right. See